The tides are turning on Kamala Harris as the world is waking up to what a nightmare she is. This time, we're going into foreign policy and her response to BLM, including Tim Walz. What a loser team this is. How bad for America is it? Even little meek Speaker Mike Johnson absolutely demolishes her.
She declined to pursue the death penalty against a confessed gang member who murdered a San Francisco police officer. 2019, pushed to overhaul the criminal justice system, including eliminating cash bail. 2020, suggested donating to a bail fund for BLM rioters.
That's the Kamala Harris greatest hits.
I went to the site, the epicenter where it all began, May, June of 2020, where those riots began, and Tim Walz was the governor. He allowed Minnesota to burn. He allowed Minneapolis to burn. He sat on his hands while that happened.
This is soft on crime. If you want this expanded across America, be sure to vote for Kamala and Tim Walz.
And gave sympathy, really, to the rioters. You know, when he ran for governor last time in that state, in Minnesota, they dubbed him the godfather of crime and lawlessness.
Okay, that's a title you do not want. I'm just checking. The godfather of crime and lawlessness. Again, vote for what you want repeated.
Because what happened in Minnesota and Minneapolis there then spread to other cities, as we know, around the country and even around the globe. The lawlessness that followed, the chaos that followed, was originally, he was the architect of.
America gets a cold and the rest of the world gets a flu, and that includes the radical riots that guys like Tim Walz are responsible for.
The point is here, you have to be very sober-minded when you go into that ballot box. Safety and security are #1 issues to people around this country. They don't feel safe. They don't feel stable right now. And if you put Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in charge, your family is not safe.
Your family's not safe, but you get lots of joy. It's the joy campaign, everyone. Kamala Harris is for joy, but your family's not safe.
Yes. In fact, we stood and held a press conference in front of the 3rd precinct, the police precinct that burned. It still is surrounded by a gate and concrete barricades. They've not rebuilt. Over 1,500 buildings in Minneapolis were allowed to be either destroyed.
They were destroyed, hollowed out, and Kamala Harris got them off the hook, even pledged to their legal defense fund to get them out on bail.
I know we have a lame duck president now, reluctantly for him. He goes to California, then he goes back to the beach. We have a world on fire right now. We have economic things that's got to be addressed. We have a border that now both sides agree needs to be fixed. Where is he?
Where's Joe Biden? That's a good question. You do not have a president. Where is he? They're not doing any interviews with him. He doesn't exist, just like Kamala.
That's a great question. I mean, Joe Biden has been checked out for a long time, and Kamala Harris knew it the entire time. She was one of the people, remember, that they bragged about was the last one to leave the room when major decisions were made, as if Joe Biden was making them.
Democrats keep wanting to say Kamala is strong and a strong woman, but yet she wasn't strong enough to do anything in the last 3 years. That was not her at all. That was a man's job. She sat back. They need to make up their mind about her.
She is responsible. She carries the burden of that, and that's her record. And we've got to understand, too, whether you're talking about domestic affairs or foreign affairs. We were talking about the hot wars going on around the globe. The only person that our adversaries fear less than Joe Biden is Kamala Harris.
Can you imagine being a third world dictator and having Kamala Harris come cackling in? You do not fear her. These people would chew her up and spit her out.
Imagine her as the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military in these dangerous times. This is the most dangerous time since World War II, Brian. We cannot afford to do that. You've got to have Donald Trump in the White House. He's the one they fear and respect.
Donald Trump got them to fear. He is a tested man. We've only seen Joe Biden pretty much screw up Israel, screw up in Russia, screw up in Afghanistan. It's a parade of screw-ups, and she'll do the same.
They have no shame. You saw that on display at the Democrat National Convention. They're engaging in fantasy over fact. We've got to make sure people understand this is not, you can't make an emotional decision here. You've got to make a decision based on the record and not the rhetoric. They're saying things that are patently untrue. They're gaslighting the American people, and they expect that, I guess, that the people are not intelligent enough to figure this out.
We're going to find out how intelligent they are on voting day, because it might just work. If America's that dumb, Kamala will be your president, and she reflects the voters. I can't believe America is that dumb.
This is for all the marbles. This is the most important election of our lifetimes, no question.
It's the most important in our lifetimes. I totally agree. We say that most years, but that's because the Democrats keep getting worse and worse. The repercussions of losing this one is going to be a disaster. Trump has to win. I hope you guys will remember to register to vote for Trump. This is the first campaign I've given to, and we're happy to support Trump all the way to the White House to save the world. You're watching John Mike King.